And now, the best 60-ish seconds of your week.
And I know you'd be disappointed if I wasn't wearing this, and we'll get to it in just a moment. But first, the eyes of the nation were riveted on the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania this week as the great debate between John Fetterman and Dr. Mehmet Oz took place. And let me just say that I and every thinking Pennsylvanian has great empathy for John Fetterman and his family as they go through some obviously very difficult times. And all of us pray for his full and complete recovery. But it's very, very clear that he hasn't fully recovered yet, and many questions linger about what the long-term prognosis truly is. And Tuesday night's debate raised more questions about his health than they answered, and his failure and unwillingness to release his medical records gives legitimacy to the questions about his health, and they are going to come full force over the course of the next couple of weeks. Whenever you begin a debate by saying, "Good night, everybody," you know there's going to be problems ahead. I mean, these are the parts of the debate that are scripted in advance, where you've basically memorized them and simply have to put them out for the audience to see. And John Fetterman had trouble doing even that on Tuesday night. But his health issues don't really relate to some of the underlying things that he had trouble with during that debate. One, what about those 67 tax liens? He said, well, they were the result of a couple of kids. It made no sense whatsoever. And he had difficulty with the question on fracking, where he was quoted as saying he was unalterably opposed to fracking and that it was a stain and blight on the Commonwealth, but now says he's pro-fracking and always has been. But ultimately, the two big issues in this campaign remain what the big issues nationally are: inflation and crime. And that is going to be what ultimately turns this race for Mehmet Oz. And now the Democrats are bringing out the quote-unquote big guns. That's Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. So think about that. If you think Joe Biden's doing a great job handling inflation, that the Inflation Reduction Act is working for your family, well then you're probably voting for Joe Biden and John Fetterman. If you think that Kamala Harris has done a great job as the border czar and has controlled our border and put an end to illegal immigration, then you're probably voting for John Fetterman and Kamala Harris. But if you want a different path, a different approach, and some common sense, Mehmet Oz is getting your vote. Our friends in the media, of course, owe a real apology to that NBC reporter who was vilified because she raised issues about John Fetterman's ability to communicate off camera during a recent interview that she did with him. It turns out that maybe she had only seen the tip of the iceberg, because for all of America and all of the Commonwealth on Tuesday night, the problems that exist for John Fetterman were on full display. And what continues to be on full display for everyone is the economy, inflation in particular, which is causing people great difficulty in buying groceries, purchasing gas at the pump, paying their electric bills and heating bills for the winter, and that is working seriously against Democrats nationally and in each of the respective districts, part of a red wave that's coming. And mortgage interest rates this week topped 7% for the first time in over 20 years. So every economic indicator is looking really troublesome for the Democrats nationally and in my state of Pennsylvania. And in my state of Pennsylvania, the big news right now may not be politics. And look, when I was playing ball, even through my college years, I was pretty superstitious. I had all these little rituals and things I had to go through before every game because I was sure that that's what decided the outcome, not the play out on the field. So I have worn this jersey for all but 2 games. Those are the 2 games that the Phillies have lost during the playoffs thus far. And I'm sure that there's a correlation. There has to be. I mean, think about it. Scientifically, didn't wear it twice. They lost twice. And I understand that Rob Thompson, the new manager of the Philadelphia Phillies, actually has a scout out to see whether I'm wearing this before he allows the first pitch to be thrown. But in all seriousness, the Phillies are in the World Series. And as we tape this, Game 1 hasn't yet been played. Tonight, Aaron Nola takes the hill against the Astros and their ace, and we'll have to see what happens, but there is great joy in the city of Philadelphia as the Phillies get back to the World Series for the first time since 2009. And on Sunday, before the World Series game is played in Houston, in Philadelphia, the Steelers will be meeting the Eagles, a cross-state rivalry that parallels few others. I've been dying for an all-Pennsylvania Super Bowl because the trash talk that would go on during the 2 weeks between the league championships and the Super Bowl would be unbelievable if it was all played here in Pennsylvania. And you know, a lot of folks are aware of the fact that the Eagles and the Steelers once combined their franchises during the Second World War because of a lack of manpower on the field and formed the Stiggles for a season. They even had a winning year that year in 1943. What a lot of folks don't know is the really incredible intertwining of those two franchises because of Art Rooney and Burt Bell and a third party, Alexis Thompson. Now, this is a really convoluted story, and I can't tell it even in 60-ish seconds, but you might want to check out how the Philadelphia Eagles went to Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh franchise landed in Philadelphia back in the early 1940s, and how Burt Bell was coaching the Pittsburgh franchise after he owned the Philadelphia franchise. It really is the tale of one great state. And what ultimately killed the deal that he and Art Rooney had put together was they were going to have one team, the Pennsylvania Keystoners, that would split their home turf between Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. The Washington Redskins franchise put a kibosh to that deal. So today we have what will be played out on Sunday on the gridiron. Pennsylvania boasts the best fall foliage in the country, the longest season, and it is in full bloom. I'm hoping that everyone has a glorious weekend in the sun and coolness of fall. Sports is in full bloom. We've only got 10 days until our election, and please pray for my native Brazil, which holds its presidential election tomorrow. And for now, that is the best 60-ish seconds of your week.